Welcome everyone to our best practice webinar today. The topic that we'll be discussing is all around setting up business rules and workflows. Hopefully some of these tips will be life-changing for some of you, but here at Desk, we're all about saving time. So we're always thinking of ways to provide you with tips on how to work faster, how to do things easier. And that's our goal here today, is to show you how to automate some of the repetitive tasks that you might do every day over and over again so that you can start to automate some of these rules and workflows. Also, we want to make sure that none of your support cases that are coming in are slipping through the cracks. These productivity tools will let you move cases along the support cycle faster, freeing up your agents' time to avoid them doing things over and over again. And more importantly, we want to make sure that every time when your customers are reaching out to you, you're getting them a timely response back and you're providing an awesome customer service experience every time. So today's presenter, we have myself, Kira Cho. I'm part of the product marketing team, and I'm super excited. I have two very special guests next to me from our WOW team, which is our customer service team, Andy and Sunny. Welcome, Andy and Sunny.
Hi. Hello.
They are here to ensure customer success by helping our customers with their support issues, and they also help our customers with the Desk.com implementation. So these are our experts here. I'm super excited to have them here. So some housekeeping items. The first thing is that we know that this is a webinar and it's very hard for us to interact with you. We can't really hear you through the receiver, so we have a few mechanisms for you to connect with us. The first is you can connect with us via Twitter, and this is an interaction that can happen even outside of today's webinar. You can always @mention Desk and use the hashtag #CustServeWins for any quotes or tips that you find helpful today and you want to share it with your networks or other people that are using Desk. Today's program will last for about 40 minutes total. We have 30 minutes of content that we've prepared for you. I'm super excited. We have a lot of great demos that Andy and Sunny put together for us. And the last 10 minutes will be dedicated for Q&A. So please make sure you put all of your questions in the GoToWebinar panel. We'll get to them during the program, depending on how many we get, but we'll definitely save time at the end, 10 minutes for Q&A after the 30-minute content that we've prepared. And lastly, if you can't stay with us until the end, that's completely okay. All of this will be recorded and we'll send you a copy within 24 hours after today's program. We'll also post this on YouTube so you can search for it. And again, don't worry if you can't stay through the whole thing or if you have colleagues that wanted to join. We'll make sure we get you a copy of today's webinar after the show. So the way that we've structured today's content is by categorizing the tools into 4 different ways to help you improve your productivity. Do you ever wonder which out-of-the-box workflows we have set up in Desk is going to be the most valuable for you? Well, we're going to talk about how you can set up rules and automations to speed up the workflow. And we'll also point out some of the common types of rules that most organizations will need. Get faster response time by automatically routing cases to the right agents. We'll show you how to set all that up in Desk.com in the admin panel. Ensure 24/7 customer service by triggering alerts and notification to agents and managers every time when a new interaction comes into the inbox. And lastly, we talked about how we want you to make sure that none of your cases are slipping through the cracks. So how do you configure rules that will alert you when agent cases are happening? So Andy, do you want to start us off with showing us how to speed up workflow with some of the automations that you set up?
Sure thing. Thanks, Kira. So let's go ahead and get this started. So this is the admin panel. So when you're logged in right away, you're navigated to our dashboard. So what we're going to do is in order to set up automated tasks and create automations on your site, we use rules in Desk.com to do that. So within your admin panel, you go into the cases tab, and you'll go into rules. So within Desk.com, there are 10 rule types, but today Sunny and I are going to share best practices on what are the most common rule types that our customers are using. And just to briefly explain, we're going to talk about the inbound interaction rule, and a case updated rule, and time rule examples for you. So briefly explaining, inbound interaction rule happens whenever a new inbound or a response comes from your customer, whether it's a new tweet, a new email, or a new Facebook response you're getting. Case updated rule happens whenever a case is updated by your customer and or your agents. And then time rules are based on a time interval. So if you have an agent case on your site, they have been open for 24 hours, we can use time rules to ensure that your cases aren't slipping through the cracks. And Sunny is going to give you a great example on how you can configure your time rules to alert your agents and supervisors of these cases. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the inbound interaction, and down the road, we're going to talk about case updated and time rule. We're going to talk about just the basic best recommended rules and then build up to more of the advanced rules. So right away within the admin panel, when I click on the inbound interaction rule on the right-hand side, it brings up your list of rules that you have. Before we dive in and talk about each rules that we have set up for you today, I just want to briefly talk about the rule, sort of the view. So as you can see on the right-hand side, we provided numbers from 1, and then you can go down to 6. These are basically the sequence of when the rules were triggered. So if I go ahead and as an administrator drag this down, and this rule right here, inbound interaction rule called reopen pending or resolve cases, will trigger first, and following the second will trigger next, and then afterwards. Okay. And as you can see, I'm going to talk about 3 inbound interaction rules. Those are send auto acknowledgements, how to reopen cases when a customer responds back, and how to automatically resolve out of the office replies. That's really going to help your agents limit that manual task of resolving these cases. And before we dive in, as you can see, there's a parentheses. These are standards, meaning they come out of the box. Right away when you sign up with Desk.com, we're gonna provide you with these rules already, so they're gonna be already configured on your site. And then we have a custom example. This is a custom rule that I've created just as a best practice to auto resolve these types of cases. Okay. In order to edit the rule, you can click on the rule name or click on the gear icon on the right. And this is the rule and how we can edit it. And as you can see, we use rules based on the conditions and rule action. It's basically a logic statement. If these situations meet, then trigger these rule actions. And the difference between all conditions and any condition is all condition is basically an and statement. So condition 1 and condition 2 needs to meet in order for the rule to trigger. Any is an or statement. So condition 1 or condition 2 needs to meet in order for the rule to trigger. So in this case, send auto acknowledgement email is a inbound interaction rule that actually sends out an autoresponder to your customer. So we have a condition that says case status is new. Whenever your customers are sending you a new case, you want to make sure that you send out an autoresponder to your customers without having your agents manually acknowledging these cases. So you can create an inbound interaction rule to automatically send these auto acknowledgements out to the customer. So we can define, hey, case status is new. Make sure that the auto acknowledgement was already sent out within 24 hours. And then the rule action is send email acknowledgement email. So you as an administrator, you can create custom auto acknowledgement theme, which we'll not go over today. But I just want to talk about this field right here, run rule. This is very important because you can actually define when you want the trigger to be happened. So we can trigger at any time or during business hours or after business hours. So during business hour, if you want to send a specific auto acknowledgement out to your customer, you can go ahead and do that. You can create another rule to trigger it not during business hours, meaning if a customer sends you an email case after your business hours, you as an administrator can create additional inbound interaction rule to notify the customer, say, hey, customer A, here are our hours of operations. We'll reach out to you when we get in the office right away tomorrow morning. So this way, you want to make sure that your customers know when you are operating your support time and when you're not. We're going to go ahead and update this. The next rule that I'm going to talk about is reopen pending or resolve cases. This is a rule that comes out of the box as well. So what happens is when your customers are responding out to you on a pending or resolve case. So let's think of a situation again. Customer sends a new case. Your agents reply out to the customer. Automatically, the case status will be set to pending. Pending indicates that the agent is waiting for the customer's reply. What this inbound interaction rule does is when a customer replies out to a case that is resolved or pending because they need more help, this will trigger to reopen the case. And your agents will see right away that the case has been reopened by the customer again. So just as a best practice, it's great to have this inbound interaction rule. Without it, if your customers are responding back to you on a case that's resolved or pending, it will never be reopened, meaning your agents or the administrator will never know that your customer responded out. So in case if you don't have this on your site, you want to make sure you create this rule. And here are the conditions that we use. And the rule action is basically set the case status back to open. Okay. And a custom rule that we created is out of the office reply. Sunny and I work on the implementation team, and we help our customers with the implementation process. And a lot of our customers ask us, hey, how do I auto-resolve spam emails or out of the office emails that are coming through your site? And you want to make sure that these cases are not created as a new case, but you want to create an automated process to auto-resolve them. So what I did is I created a rule to auto-resolve the out of office, and I defined a condition whenever a case status is new, whenever a case is created, and I use an any statement, or if the case subject contains out of the office, or the email subject contains automatic reply, I set the rule action. What are the triggers that I'm trying to do? You can set the case status as resolved, meaning anytime an email subject containing out of the office or automatic reply is created, Desk.com is going to auto-resolve these cases. And on top of that, here's another best practice. You can append a case label called spam. So in terms of, from the administrative standpoint, if you're running a reporting, you want to make sure you run reporting on the exact customer data, and you don't want to mix any spam or out of the office cases. So within our reporting tool, New Business Insight, you can filter out cases based on the label. So you can run a reporting to say, hey, I want to pull in all the cases that are received that does not have the label spam. So you'll be able to run the exact reporting that you're looking for. Okay? Click up it. And I did forget to mention one more thing. If we go back into our send auto acknowledgement, you want to make sure that you don't send out the auto acknowledgement out to out of office replies as well. So what you can do is you can add in another condition with an all condition, and you can define the case subject and say if the case subject does not contain out of the office or out of office. This is just best practice so that Desk.com doesn't send out an autoresponder to a case that comes in when it's related to out of office or automated reply. So now we're not in a looping stage here. So it's always a best practice. Modify the send auto acknowledgement email and add in another condition to not trigger it if the email is related to out of the office. Okay. And now Sunny is going to talk about how to ensure that cases are routed to the appropriate group so that you as an administrator or tier 2 agents don't have to manually assign these cases to the appropriate group or agent.
Great, thanks, Andy. Every support team strives to reach out to their customers as quickly as possible. And this can be hard to do, especially when you receive cases from multiple channels like email, phone, and social media. So routing cases automatically is a way to really allow your agents to receive their cases faster and in turn respond to your customers faster. So take, for example, you have a specialized team or agent that responds only to Twitter cases. You can create a rule to auto-route those cases to that individual to avoid someone else having to take the time to assign it to them. So here's how you would do that. So we're already in the inbound interaction section of the rules. So I'm going to click on Add Rule. And I'm going to call this rule Route Twitter Cases. And I'm going to choose the interaction type Twitter because I only want this to pertain to our tweets that come in. So I'm going to click Add. And now I'm going to add my first condition here. So I'm going to only add a condition for when the case status is new. And the reason why I do that is because we only want this rule to apply when tweets first come in for the very first time. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose my rule action. I want these cases to route to my agent that only deals with Twitter cases. So I'm going to say, okay, set the case assigned agent to my agent Andy Kim, who's the one who takes all the Twitter cases. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here, enable this, click update, and this rule is ready to go, and you'll be able to see that in the list of rules below. So now that we have showed you how to auto route cases, Andy will show you how to create a notification alert workflow.
Perfect. Thank you, Sunny. So we're going to still stay in the inbound interaction rule and kind of walk through our way of how to create a case update rule to create a trigger. So previously before I talked about auto acknowledgement, and these are notifications that are going to be sent out to your customers externally, acknowledging that you received the case. But how do we create an internal workflow to notify your agents whenever a case is assigned to them or when a new case comes in when they're not logged into the application? So what you can do is out of the box, there's this rule called new interaction notification. So what this does is we actually define the interaction type for all channels, but you can create a custom inbound interaction rule. And what Sunny did, you can actually define what type of channel you want the rule to trigger. And in this case, we created this rule where whenever a new case is created or whenever a customer responds out to you, the rule action is send notification email to the agent. So if I go ahead and enable this rule, do you notice how previously before I talked about the sequence on the when the rules trigger? You want to make sure the rule that Sunny created is very like on top before the new interaction notification trigger. So let's talk about this workflow. A customer creates a new case. The very first rule will trigger to send out an auto acknowledgement to your customers. And afterwards, if it's related to Twitter, it's going to go ahead and route the Twitter case to myself since I'm the agent handling the Twitter case. Afterwards, if I'm the agent and I'm not logged into Desk.com, the fifth inbound interaction rule will trigger to send out a notification email to the agent. Say, hey, agent A, you just received a new Twitter case. And within that notification email, the agent will be able to see the case ID number and then basically the context of what the case is about as well. And within the notification directly, they can click on the view case button to navigate to the agent panel right away. Let's talk about a second scenario of case updated. We spoke about case updated happen whenever a case has been updated by the agent or the customer. Out of the box, we provided you with two case updated rules. The two rules are supervisor case assignment notification and assignment notification. And let's actually open the assign. Just got kicked out. Let's do this again. Yeah, sometimes. Sorry about that.
Since we're logging in right here, we have a few questions around whether or not we can add a rule to delete a case automatically. I did see that in the dropdown, so the answer will be yes.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to log in again. I'll be sharing my screen very shortly.
This is great. We have some questions coming in the meantime. So here's another one for you guys. Can you route a case via email to a non-agent within the company? The person is not an agent, but they want to be notified of a case. So for example, I'm in marketing, I'm not an agent, and I want to be notified when there is a tweet that comes in.
That's a great question. So actually, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that idea. So what you can do is, it is possible. Let's talk about the two scenarios here. And that's where I was going to go more in depth with the case updated rule here. As you can see, if I open the case assign notification, case updated rule, this rule triggers whenever a case has been reassigned to an agent. So let's say that I reassign the tweet case to my manager, Debbie. And once the case has been assigned to Debbie, this case updated rule will trigger to notify Debbie that a new case has been reassigned to her. So this is just a great way if you are reassigning cases to different groups or different agents, you can go ahead and create this case updater rule. Actually, it actually comes with out of the box. So if you deleted this rule, you want to make sure you create this again, so that when a case has been escalated or reassigned to a different agent, it will send out a notification email to the agent or the group. And one great question was, hey, I have one agent or an employee that wants to receive a notification email, but they don't exist as a Desk.com agent. Is there a way when a case comes in that's related to billing or that's related to VIP customers to send out an external notification to your customer? Or sorry, to external notification to the external employee who's not a desk agent, and that is possible. So what you would do is, I'm not going to go too much in detail, is you can create a custom notification theme within the cases and notification tab here. And you can create a custom notification theme, and within the to field, manually enter in the email address of the recipient you want the person to be notified. And we can create a rule, like an inbound interaction rule again, say, hey, when a case related to billing comes in, you can set the rule action. So in this case, if a Twitter case comes in, you can also add in another rule action to send a notification email and choose the custom template that you just created. So it is possible. So on top of on topic of the notification email, I just want to talk about a cool feature that comes with Desk.com. The feature is called reply from email. So let's say that you're an agent and you reassign a case or escalate a case to an admin or an agent, but that agent is not logged into Desk.com. So within the feature reply from email, I'm not going to demo for you, but I just want to talk more about this cool feature. When you receive a notification email, you can directly reply out to the customer by replying out from the notification email. So all you have to do is, just as an administrator, you can go into the cases tab and you can go into agents. Make sure reply from email is turned on. So it allows your agents to reply directly to the customer from the notification email. So one, they don't have to be logged in to the Desk.com agent panel, or if you're on mobile, you can directly respond out to the customer from your mobile, from your emails that you're receiving, so that they don't necessarily have to be logged in. And we do have a great article in our support site, support.desk.com, for you to learn more about this feature and how you can enable this for your agents. And if you have any questions, feel free to just give our support team a call as well. So now we're on the topic of escalating cases and sending notification emails to the group agents. Sunny is going to talk about how you can configure your time rule to make sure that your cases aren't slipping through the cracks, or make sure that these cases that are coming in are not aging, to ensure faster response time to your customers.
Cool. Thanks, Andy. So yeah, as Andy mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about some ways that you can configure Desk to never miss a case. So as your business grows and your caseload starts getting larger, sometimes cases just fall through the cracks. And if you find yourself dealing with this on a daily basis, then an aging case rule may be helpful in making sure that the new cases never get forgotten. So there are numerous ways to configure an aging case rule. But this is one of the most common ones that I'm going to show you today that a lot of our customers are using. So under rules, under the time rule section, I'm going to go ahead and click on, or I'm actually going to show you one that I've created for this demo called the 24-hour aging case rule. So I'm going to click into this one. I'm going to show you the criteria that's in this. So in the all condition, we have 3 different criteria. We have case status is new, and we have hours since new is 24 hours. And so the reason why we do this is because we want this rule to only trigger 24 hours a case has come in for the first time. And then we've also added a third rule in here to say case label does not contain aging case 24 hour. And the reason why we do this is because we don't want this rule to trigger again in the next 24 hours. If this rule has already been applied, this criteria will then prevent it from running again. And then I'm going to scroll down, and then I have several rule actions here. So I have an action to add a case note, to notify the agent to contact the customer because it's been sitting in the case group for too long. And then I'm going to say append a case label called aging case 24 hours. So the agents can see that straight from the case console. And then I'm going to increment the case priority by 1, just to make this show that this is just a little bit more urgent than the rest of them. So I'm going to have this rule run anytime, and this is already enabled. And I've already got a case on the agent side to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to switch over to the agent side. And here's the agent panel. So you can see that there are several rules that have been triggered by this rule and workflow. So I'm going to go in and click on one of these to show you what has now happened. So you can see that the note that I created in the rule has been appended. So the note says, please contact the customer. The case has been aging for 24 hours. So the agent will be able to see that right away. And then the label, aging case 24 hours, has been appended right here. And in turn, you can see that the priority has been increased by 1 as well. It was previously at 4, and now it's at 5. And one last tip here, if you're wondering when the rule triggered these changes, you can always refer to the case timeline to see the time and date of when that rule applied. So you can see here that all these changes were made at this specific date and time. Okay, thank you. So back to you, Kara.
Thank you so much. You two are fantastic. I'm so glad you're able to help us or show us today on how to set up some of these rules. And for those of you on the phone, if you ever have any questions, even after today's webinar, please feel free to visit our support site. It's support.desk.com. We've got a number of great articles to help you resolve some of the challenges that you might be coming up against when you're setting up some of these rules. So always visit that first. You can also talk to us, support@desk.com. We have a great WOW team, a number of folks here on the phone that can help you resolve some of the questions that you may have too. So support@desk.com. Feel free to send us an email. So we've got a lot of great questions. Let's go straight into the Q&A. I tried my best to answer the questions while these guys were talking, but we didn't get a chance to go over all of them. So let's go with the first question. What is the difference between all condition and any condition?
So that's a great question. So maybe I went too fast on this, but I did explain it in the very beginning. But the difference between all condition and any is basically any is an or statement, and is an and statement. So if you have multiple conditions added in all conditions, all those conditions need to meet in an and statement. So condition 1 and condition 2 and condition 3. If you add in multiple conditions within any condition, it's an or statement. So condition 1 or condition 2 or condition 3. So basically the difference between is basically an and or statement.
Great. So here's a question about priority rule. Is there a set priority rule if the content contains language such as frustrated, angry? So basically, customers that are unhappy, can you filter those out and set a higher priority for those?
Yeah, definitely. Say, a case comes in, and in the subject, you can set it based off a keyword. So such as like unhappy or, not getting the service I want, or whatever the keywords are within the subject or the body, then you can create a rule to automatically prioritize those and increase the priority or set the priority to whatever level that you want.
Great. Is there any way to automate or hide any interaction that comes in from a specific email address?
So that's a great question. So we can create an inbound interaction rule. And within the condition, we can define the email from address. So a customer's email address, whenever it's coming through. And then there's actually a rule action that says hide interaction. You can define it so that every time an interaction comes in from a specific email address, you can hide the interaction. Or you can also set the case status as resolved, or you can delete the cases as well.
Great. We have another question. Does the reply work for people that are subject matter experts? So folks that are not on the support team, let's say product, engineering, QA.
So that's a great question. I'm also going to talk a little bit more about that. The reply from email, the notification feature that allows your agents to reply directly from the email only works for agents. So what happens is Desk.com is going to be able to match the agent's email address, and that feature will work to send out a response to the customer. And then we use email address as a unique identifier to ensure that the feature, whenever your agents are replying out to the notification email, it's going to thread it back to the customer. So they need to be a full-time desk agent in order to use this feature.
Here's a good break for a more subjective or question. This one's a good one. In our opinion, what characteristics do you think make a great customer service rep? Can I actually take a stab at this?
Yeah,
I actually
go ahead.
love this.
Okay.
I think one of the most important thing is having empathy. The fact that your customer service reps understand the challenges that your customers are going through, I think that's very important to have someone that is empathetic to problems and is a problem solver. I always feel like I have the best customer experience, even if I'm really frustrated and can't figure out my issue, if someone on the other end understands me.
Great.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. Definitely someone that's empathetic. Someone that's energetic and, who's really is passionate about helping other people and also passionate about your own product as well. That's what we look for internally too.
Yeah, to add to that, I think personality is a very important key because in our customer wow team, even our professional services and support team, we all have different personality. So we don't really have a canned response or template when we respond out to the customer. So if you're already a current customer, you interacted with our support team, you'll probably notice the way we respond out to you. It's very different. So the way of styling our responses, the way we talk, the way we greet. So I really like how within our customer loyalty, we have different styles and different personality, which makes it more of a great experience for your customer so we don't feel too robotic whenever you reach out to support.
Yeah, and we have an awesome support manager here. Her name is Debbie. Debbie does a very good job of keeping up with the knowledge base for all the internal agents so that every time when an agent is searching for an answer, Debbie will always have an article that is very consistent and accurate with some of the answers that we should be providing back to the customers. So I think having an internal knowledge base that is always updated, always accurate is also key to consistency. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Can you explain the difference between setting labels and appending labels?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the main difference is when you're setting a label, that means that the label that you're placing onto the case, it's going to remove anything else there. And then if you choose to append a label, that means that it's going to add that in addition to any of the labels that are already on the case. So there are a lot of scenarios in which you can use either one. But in most scenarios, you probably want to append, especially when you're using multiple labels, you'll want to append a case label just so you're not overriding what's already there.
Yeah, so this session is recorded. We have a lot of questions around. Some folks dialed in a little later. Yes, we'll be sending out a recording of this within 24 hours. We'll also be posting this on our YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. But I'll definitely make sure you get a link. And you can also send me a personal email at kcho@salesforce.com if you ever have any questions after this. So next question is, when setting a case to reply by email, will that be also updated on the Desk.com portal?
So that's a great question. Yes, it does get updated. So let's say that I'm an agent.
Can we actually take a step back and explain the Desk.com portal, what it is?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So out of the box, Desk.com provides you with the knowledge-based portal. So what you can do is, as an administrator, you can create a help center that's going to help your customers try to troubleshoot the issues themselves. So we use articles and topics to create the content management. So what you can do within the knowledge base site, there's a feature called private access. It's a single sign-on feature where your customers can log in to see their own case history. So the scenario goes, a customer sends a new email case. I receive an email directly from Desk.com that a new case came through. As a full-time agent, I can respond out directly from the notification email back to the customer. And when you respond out, that response is going to get threaded into the exact same case. So you'll be able to see the interaction when you open the case. And now when the customers log in directly from your knowledge base portal to see their case history, they'll be able to see their interaction made by the agent and by the customer as well.
When you get a reply from a forwarded ticket, if you click hide, does that hide the case recipient when you reply to the case recipient? Basically, does hide allow you to keep internal comments away from being seen by the customer?
So that's a great question. So in this case, we would recommend using Add Notes feature. Within Desk.com, there is an Add Notes button that's located on the bottom right corner, right above your reply text box. So you can add in an internal note. So within a rule action, you can also add in internal note. Like what Sonny showed you an example of using a time loop to add an internal note. A best practice would be to add in an internal note about any customers that are coming in. An example that I can think of is if you have VIP customers and you need to escalate the cases, change the case priority, you can also add in an internal note to give a brief background of what the customer is looking for, or create a rule to kind of give you an example what membership or what type of customer they're or what type of company they're with as well. So adding an internal note would be best practice for this use case.
Does Desk have support for feature request flows? So for example, if a support case that's coming in, it's about, hey, can you add this new feature to our product? Or, oh, you guys just released this new feature, there's bugs in it. How do we source those?
Yeah, I think a good way to do that is by creating a label, for your feature requests. So if you do get a lot of support tickets that are feature requests, you can in turn train your agents to add a label to those cases. And then in our reporting module, Business Insights, you can go in and go down to a label report and then be able to pull a report on all of the cases that have that feature request label on them. And then you can even export that to CSV if you want to and share that with your colleagues as well.
Okay. So here's a question. I just tried to test the send auto acknowledgement email standard rule that we were talking about within the inbound interaction. I changed it so that it would only respond to my email and remove the 1 hour requirement. I sent an email and never received an email back. Why is that?
So that's a great question. So actually looking at the question, you chose the condition email from is. So within Desk.com, when you're adding in a condition, you can define it based on contains and is. Is actually look for the exact email address that's displayed on the to field when you open a case. So when you actually open a Desk.com email case, and on the right-hand side, you actually look into the to field. In between the email address, there are actually specific characters that are surrounding and wrapping it, and that's the less than or equal to sign. So in this case, we would recommend changing your rule condition to say email from contained from your email address, and it's going to trigger the rule.
Okay, so we have lots of rules that increment case priority, but this organization's view are generally ordered by oldest received so that they can make sure that cases that are aging, they're getting to it quickly. How will incrementing priority help in this workflow?
So that's a great question. So two things. You can create an inbound interaction rule and define the rule action to increment the priority. So what Sonny showed you an example is that case priority 4 to change to 5. And within your filters, you can actually define the default sorting. So to ensure that all the cases that have the higher priority are shown at the very top. So you can go ahead and go into the cases, filters, and edit your filter. And there's a field where you can define the default sorting. You want to make sure that the highest priority are shown at the very top. So when a rule triggers to increment the priority, those cases will appear at the very top. So it's going to really help your agents to see that these are higher priority cases, and down below are sort of like the normal priority cases could be like 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice. Here's a great one about macros, and I love macros. They're one of my favorite productivity tools. And basically, for those of you that are not aware of what macros can do, macros are shortcuts that allow agents to perform multiple actions with just one click. So here's a question. Are you able to create a macro response that contains a standardized form for a customer to enter things like name, address, upload image?
Yeah, so you can definitely create a macro to pre-populate fields about a customer. So, you're not limited to just pre-populating, one custom field. You can have it pre-populate multiple fields, but you can also do a lot more with that. You can also use a macro to set a case no, or send a quick reply, like a predetermined text that you want to send back to the customer. So macros are one of the most powerful tools in Desk.com. And it's definitely worth checking out. And the criteria is very similar to the rules that we showed you today to get those created.
Great. So we only have time for one more. Thank you, everyone, for all your involvement. Again, if we don't get to your question, we'll make sure we have someone reach back out to you after the webinar. If other questions come up after today's show, you can also email support@desk.com. So last question. What happens if a customer contacts us by clicking a closed case email to report a new issue? Can the agent reassign the case to a new case or otherwise separate it in some way?
So that's a great question. So a case can only be closed using a rule. So when a case is closed, it becomes read-only mode, meaning you cannot modify or update a case. So when a customer responds out to you in a closed case, Desk.com will automatically create it as a new case, and it will be unassigned. So it won't be tied to any of the case information from previously before. So it's just a great practice. If you have a customer constantly reaching out to you on different issue on one case, you can set a time rule to automatically close the case so that when a customer responds out after 3 or 4 days later, instead of throwing it back into the same case, it's going to create a new case instead. And I was actually reading through other couple of questions about, hey, I tried this out, it's not really working out. If you have any further questions, please reach out to our support team, and we'll be more than happy to get on a call with your team to try to troubleshoot the issue and we can also take a look into your rule conditions as well and kind of walk you through the steps so that we can set up the automation that you're looking for on your site.
Thank you so much, Sunny and Andy. You guys are rock stars.